Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the E.N.G. Media Podcast. We have a very exciting guest, Natalie with JetRockets. For those of you just joining the podcast, I am Christian Gannon, the co-founder of E.N.G. Media, and we specialize in helping software and tech companies scale their revenue. So if you want to learn how to take your software tech business to the next level, make sure to stick around. So let's get right into it. So I understand that JetRockets is a Ruby on Rails development company helping startups and businesses quickly build and improve web and mobile apps. With over 15 years of experience, your team focuses on speed, quality, and reliability, whether it's launching an MVP, supporting existing platforms, or integrating mobile solutions. Your lean, people-first approach sets you apart as a trusted, efficient partner. Can you share more about your business and your role within it?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having me. This is exciting. And I must say, your introduction, you should just join me on all my sales. But yeah, so as you said, we are a software development company, which essentially means we are, we build other people's software, right? What does this mean? People come to us in typically in a few scenarios. One, they want to launch something brand new, and these are my favorite types of projects. Is if somebody wants to launch a brand new product. Typically, they tend to be a non-technical founder, someone who has identified the need on the market because they've been around in their particular niche for a long time.
Mhm.
And they want to build tech. They don't know where to begin, how to go about it, what does it mean. If you read today's media, it's very difficult to kind of understand and filter out what's real, what's not. You hear a lot about, oh, you don't need engineers. Oh, no, you still do. So it's like very difficult. So people come to us really for that expertise and to guide them and to become their trusted development partner that will work with them just beyond the initial launch, right? So like there are many companies out there whose job is just to launch a quick MVP and move on. My company's goal is and has always been to develop long-term relationship and really build that mutual beneficial relationship where we become the long-term development partner for our clients who are able to focus on what they do best, which is business development, marketing, user acquisition, and basically solving the problem that they set out to solve to begin with, right? So those are the first set of clients, and we also work with kind of like mid-market and even enterprise level businesses who run Ruby on Rails tech stack. And there are plenty of such companies, and who require specific skills within Ruby on Rails, be that, updates, maintenance, scalability, anything. My company has stuck with Ruby on Rails for ever since the inception, so for 15 years, and super glad we did. And it's proven to be a very trusted technology, and we are true experts in it. Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
as to my role, officially I am a co-founder and CEO, which really means I do everything, right?
Of course, of course.
But I think we are just over 50 people right now, and so my role has definitely evolved. I do a lot more. I focus on business development, strategic growth, partnership, and sort of being the face and the voice of the company. And I'm really, I really love what I do. I love talking about the company, about our work, about our clients, and that passion that I still have 15 years later, I think it helps me a lot. And so we've experimented with a lot of different approaches as far as business development, but it all comes back to I do it best. So
Of course, of
because
course.
I'm passionate, because I like what I do. And so that is my main role, really, is business development and growth. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And kind of you touched on it a little bit, but what are some of the major trends that you're seeing right now in the custom software space across the board?
Well, it depends who you ask, right? So
Of
if you
course.
ask just LinkedIn, uh, they'll tell you that companies like JetRockets will go out of business within the next 2 months. That nobody needs engineers because you can essentially, with zero experience or zero technical skills, to launch any product out there, and not only launch it, but also like use it and then sell it and scale it and make millions of dollars in revenue. Well, I hate to break it, it's not the case, right? So obviously, low code and no code tools have been around for quite some time, and now AI tools are really helping iterate at the stage of proof of concept, sometimes maybe even simple MVPs. Yes, and these are amazing tools, these are amazing products, and I always encourage, anyone who comes to us to speak about a potential build, I always start with, hey, have you launched a proof of concept? Have you confirmed your hypothesis? Have you found your market, product fit? Like, do you know what you're building? Because, we are a custom software company, which obviously means, will probably cost a little bit more than paying a Bubbles developer, maybe. And I want to make sure that we don't go into this whole like iteration status early on through custom development. There's no need for that anymore. And I feel that is the big changing factor, but I'm actually excited about it because it used to be even 3-5 years ago, it used to be that anyone who wanted to launch anything, right, even to test out the idea, they had to hire companies like JetRockets in order to get their idea off the ground, even if it meant very simple proof of concept or very rudimentary MVP. They still have to come to us, shell out, few like significant amount of money, sometimes $50,000, $60,000, in order just to prove out their idea. And most of those ideas fail. I mean, that is just the truth, right? Most of these ideas fail, and then it always feels you feel bad, right? Like you feel like the person just invested all of their life savings into proving something out that turned out to be useless. And so I'm actually excited about this opportunity for new startups who are able to quickly test out their ideas. And so when they come to us, we have a much higher likelihood of success with whatever product we're building for them, which means, they'll succeed, they'll attract revenues, they'll potentially attract investors if that's what they want to do, which means they'll continue working with us for the long term. And like I mentioned earlier, my goal is to develop long-term relationship. So basically what I'm saying, my funnel, like the top of the funnel, has gotten so much more qualified now, right? Like people who come to us are much more qualified to work with us than they used to be 3-5 years ago.
Definitely.
So that's kind of like one area when I see a lot of change. But then secondarily, of course, AI tools like Copilot, Cursor, and even ChatGPT, they're incredible in helping knowledgeable, skilled engineers become more efficient, right? So think about it's a tool. It's a tool in the hands of a person who knows what they're doing. And if it's used properly, and if, it can make someone much more efficient. Like my top engineers at JetRockets, they report productivity increase of about 30%, which is phenomenal, right? It allows them to maybe not do some of the mundane things that nobody ever wants to do, such as write tests against their code base, right? And kind of rely on AI to do it for them, increasing the test coverage, but also not having to spend manual time doing it, and like refocusing their attention and their time to things that truly require engineering skills.
Of course. And that makes a lot of sense. And so it's kind of like a two-sided. It's now we have companies that are starting out with a foundation, right, instead of starting from scratch, but also now we're leveraging AI and large language models to kind of push the engineering side of it so that they can focus on what really matters, right? And that makes a lot of sense. So thank you.
Absolutely. One thing, it's funny. I just earlier today had a conversation with my CTO who was just playing out with the new model, the model 4.0 that just came out, and he was actually reporting some decreased quality. He said, "Oh, this new model that just came out, it sucks." It's almost the more data they learn against, the worse the results get.
Of course. And I think I've noticed that on my end too. I was in finance for a long time before this as well, and I day trade regularly as on my side. But a lot of the answers that it gives now are based on other traders' data, which may not be accurate to a different strategy or a different way that you want to do something. So it's helpful to a certain extent, just like you said. But a lot of the answers you got to go search yourself or try out, and I bet your engineers have first-hand experience with this too. So
and like you have to be a subject matter expert to use this, these tools efficiently. I mean, I always equate it to like having, like those fancy like scientific calculators we all used to have at school, right? Like, so it's like having the calculator is not going to make me a mathematician.
Of course.
Right?
Right.
like I have to know math. I have to go and probably study for many, 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 many years and have a certain inclination to the
Hmm.
to the topic to be able to use those tools efficiently. So the same goes for coding. And I actually go as far as I say that some of these posters on LinkedIn and other media, they're being irresponsible. And I they're making these like big claims that, oh, nobody needs engineers, you can launch a startup and make tens of millions of dollars without anyone helping you, and you can do it over a weekend. And I that is a lie.
Right. 100%.
you
And I
know
think in addition to that, it's a major problem, not maybe just on this space, but other spaces of in LinkedIn and across social media of presetting this false lie or this false take on something. Because the reality is, let's say you did build the product, right? You still need to have a marketing, a sales, a business development team that can market that product and show that it solves a solution to a problem. You could have a great product, but if it's not marketed well or sold well, it doesn't matter because there's no revenue coming in,
Well,
right? So,
100%. And I'll tell you more. When people come to us, and my initial question is like 100% of the time is, do you have a go-to-market strategy? Like, don't talk to me about how many
right.
features you want to have in your product. Do you know what you're selling and who your customer is? And has anyone paid you already? Like
Right,
before you even
100%.
start spending money building the product, because the product is, like you said, you can have the greatest product. Unfortunately, in my experience, I've seen, I've worked with founders who build great products, but were not able to break it out on the market. And that's a
Hmm.
shame, because I'm thinking, oh, but that's a great product.
Of
Yeah,
course, of course,
but it's useless. Yeah. Yeah.
definitely. And kind of shifting to my next question, what do you think right now in this landscape that we're talking about is making it more challenging or on the flip side, easier to operate in?
Well, definitely a lot of operational efficiency outside of tech. Like I already mentioned that
Hmm.
having good, strong engineers who utilize AI tools in their daily work definitely produces a 30% uptick in their productivity, which is phenomenal,
Hmm.
which is amazing, which means we can do more things, we can do them faster, we can do them with higher quality. That's amazing.
Of
But
course.
going outside of the coding, right? Like I'm thinking project management, I'm thinking QA testing, designs, stuff like that. And even in my operations, right? Like when I do like
Hmm.
some level of marketing and like business development and such. I mean, look, I've taught ChatGPT how to put together proposals for us, right?
Hmm.
And now, like, my day has gotten so much easier. Let's say I'm on a sales call. Obviously I have a like my recording, like my thing listening, right? It
Hmm.
takes a transcript. I'm able to feed that transcript into ChatGPT, validate that everything it said is actually correct, because look, I was present on the call. I know what took place. And then, kind of like do a quick follow-up message, right? Or kind of create a list of next steps that I'm supposed to do based on the call, right? Or help me put together a proposal, because I've taught the AI kind of, I fed it like all of our proposals that we've created throughout our life cycle
Hmm.
as a business. And it's now able to create very strong proposals for me that still I have to go and edit. It's not like, but it
Right.
gives me good scaffolding and things it thinks would work. And most of the time, I'd say I only spend maybe 30 minutes on a proposal.
Wow.
Whereas in the past, I used to spend hours upon hours upon hours, and also had to enlist developers' help and other, like. But now, so
Hmm.
I'm definitely a lot more efficient with my day.
Definitely. And that
But
makes a
I
lot of
can
sense.
only do that because I have the knowledge. Like, could I give it to somebody who does not have the knowledge right now, and
Hmm.
have them be as efficient? Probably not.
Right. And I think it's an accuracy point too, right? Like if I try to make a proposal for you, not knowing the ins and outs of who you've
Yeah,
talked with before, what you've done
yeah,
before, like every minute detail, and I try to go build it, I'll have a proposal, but is it going to be good and accurate? Probably not, right?
yeah, absolutely. And that's, yeah, it all comes back to, AI is a great tool. It's a great assistant. It's everybody should be using it, you know,
Of
to
course.
an
And
extent.
kind of shifting, I know we're talking about the marketing a little bit. As we specialize in marketing, we kind of like to know, how do you get in front of your like ideal customer profile or the people that you're like targeting, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, we've experimented throughout, we've been in business for like almost 16 years. So we've
Hmm.
experimented with a lot of things, as you can imagine. And
Of course.
honestly, at the end of the day, because we know who our target customer is, like we know what that client looks like. And we found that the best way for us to find the best clients is through personal thought leadership. Not so much, AI generated how to quick
Hmm.
posts on LinkedIn, but rather like I do webinars,
Hmm.
right? I do webinars that target like non-tech founders and I offer certain value to them and educational stuff, right? Like I'll go and I'll be on panels and I'll speak to people and kind of creating that thought leadership and online presence is very important. We have, we happen to have very strong profile on Clutch. I don't know if you're familiar with Clutch,
Mm-mm.
but it's a B2B marketplace for
Okay.
a lot of agencies rely on it, especially if you were to search for, I
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah.
software engineer or software development agency, you'll probably come across Clutch. And we utilize their profile. We have over 44 5-star reviews on Clutch.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
stuff like that. I mean, we do a bit of a SEO, not very heavy, but a bit of SEO. But mostly, yeah, it's mostly very what we call CEO based sales and like being very authentic and being very open and transparent. Look, my goal is not to grow JetRockets to become like a huge corporation.
Hmm.
That is a different ball game, right?
Right.
I I like what we do and I like the size of us, and I think that's what allows us, like, we don't need to scale this business development machine as much as maybe some other larger agencies. Yeah.
100%. And I think that's a good point to me. And I hope our viewers caught that in the sense of that it's more of the relationship and building authority. Those two things going hand in hand, especially in software and tech. And then the third thing that you mentioned, which I think gets glazed over a lot, is being able to explain it to people that aren't in tech, right? That's a huge issue across the board. And I think that's why a lot of those startups kind of fail, right? Because pretend I need a product that's in tech and I'm outside of tech. If you go into the technical details, I'm not going to follow and you're going to lose the sale, right? But if you can explain it to me in a simple way, of, oh, I help you with this and this is the result you'll get, then I'm like all in now because I don't understand the technical side, even if you went into depth on it, right? Um, but I don't
I
know if
mean,
that kind of made sense, but
no, absolutely. You nailed it right on the head because look, it's I equate it sometimes to, like a bedside manner. You have like
mhm,
in the doctor's office, right? Like you can
right.
go to a doctor who is a great physician, right?
Hmm.
And like, but their bedside manner is terrible, and like you don't want to ever see them again. And
Right.
then you end up like, meeting maybe another doctor who's patient with you, who's willing to take the time to explain like what is happening to your body, how to best take care of it, like why things happen, etc. And you feel that extra level of trust, right? And so my take on this is, look, it's all relationship, right? All like people do business with people.
Definitely.
And and relationship should always come first. So like, we work with our clients see us as humans, as people, and we see them as such as well, right? Yes, there's transaction involved, there's money, obviously, there's like certain deliverables that have to happen, but humans are humans. And the first thing that you have to establish is trust. And trust can only be established when you try to speak on the same level somehow, right? So does that
Hmm.
mean I have to like, educate my clients a little bit and also, simplify certain things for them? Absolutely. And then that's
Definitely.
what I'll do. Yeah.
Of course. And I think something that I caught when I went to the JetRockets website and we were talking about building authority and showing that you know what you're talking about is I see case studies right off the bat, which is a huge part for someone that's in marketing. I thought that was awesome. So I wanted to compliment you on that
Thank
in the
you.
sense of if I was looking to go buy, I would have all the social proof I needed before I hopped on a call with you or one of your development reps to be and ask the right questions, I guess, and not really be
Yeah.
worried about trusting you or not seeing the value. So,
One thing I always say, and this is something that is always met with, oh my God, how do you do this? I say to my potential clients, I said, look, and by the way, I'm always happy to connect you with any number of our clients. You tell me who you want to talk to. Go onto my website and tell me who do you want to speak with.
that's
It's not
awesome.
me having like a list of trusted, people
Right,
that
right.
you tell me who of them all you want to talk to. And I'm more than willing to connect. And does it mean we've never had problems? No, it doesn't. Like
No.
it just means that we were able to overcome, challenges, because challenges often arise, again, people working with people. There's always going to be challenges, but how you overcome those challenges, how do you prove that you're in it together, how like your goals are aligned, that
Hmm.
is most important.
Of course. And I think that's a good point to be made. Every partnership that we go into and every partnership that a business goes into is always going to have some bumps in the road. It's more of working together just because everyone's different. Everyone comes from a different background, a different way of thinking. So being able to adjust and understand is a big part.
Yep. That's
And
yep.
kind of leading into my next question, when it comes to measuring success, what financial or performance metrics matter most to your business? Is it client acquisition, project delivery time, or profitability, or something maybe completely different?
Profitability is key. That's really what it's all about. I mean, it's business, and
Hmm.
I'll be honest with you, that is something that I've only recently learned. I mean, been in business for 16 years, and there was a time where growth was a bigger indicator of success. And by
Hmm.
growth, I mean, revenues, right? Like
Hmm.
how many clients we get, how much money we make, and that was like sort of the top number. And and then I took a step back and I said, well, but why? We are a bootstrapping, like we don't have private equity, like we're a
Hmm.
bootstrap company, like, we don't have investors. It's like we're running this business because we want to be successful, but also because we want to make a good living. So profitability, that's a key. Absolutely, that's a key factor, is to remain profitable, but also while remaining profitable, also taking care of our employees, making sure that our employees are also happy, and not like not necessarily taking advantage of people, as some companies like mine get bad rap for, like, having like development sweatshops and stuff like that.
Right.
We don't do that. We operate as a product company. We try to take care of everyone to the best of our abilities, and but definitely, like, if one metric we're looking at is profits.
Definitely. And I actually talked to another custom software company that specializes in a little bit different things. I won't go too deep into it, but they were talking about that same issue that you're talking about with employees. There's a lot of software companies that outsource and they use this thing that they like to call time stacking, which is
Mhm.
it might be the cheaper option, but they're going to stack 40 hours instead of that 20 hours at the more expensive rate. And that was something that frustrated them across the board and for good reason, right? If I can develop the same thing in 20 hours and it's better and higher quality, and you're going to go get billed for 40 hours and it's going to end up being more money in the long run, why would you go that route? So I'm glad you kind of touched on that a little bit.
It's this industry unfortunately has a bad rap. This
Of course.
industry, I mean, I can't tell you how many founders I meet who come to us after some sort of like disastrous experience with a dev agency.
Hmm.
Uh, and sometimes they hijack their AP, sometimes they hijack their code base. Like, there's so many things that happen that give us all bad rap. And part of my mission is to like change that perspective. It's like, look, an agency should be and can be good. Like, you can be trusted. It can be long-term oriented. It's, you just have to do your due diligence and not make. People often make the mistake of going after the cheapest price. Let's say
Of
they're looking
course.
at JetRockets and like some other company, and on the surface we may look the same to
Hmm.
them. But let's say I'll give them a proposal for $100 and somebody else gives them a proposal for 50, they will immediately go with the $50 without trying to understand why the gap is,
Right.
right?
100%.
And then, like, I go and I say, look, as an agency owner, I can justify my, like, I don't have to justify my rates, but I could,
Mm. Right.
right? And I'm trying to be transparent with them. I'm trying to explain to them what goes into the rate. It's not just the salary and like a 50% margin, like some people say, right? Like, well, it's
Hmm.
just the salary and the 50% margin. Well, no, because if you operate your agency as a product company, which how we do it,
Hmm.
meaning you employ your people on a full-time basis, you provide benefits, you provide continuous education opportunities, you don't let people go just because you lost a project, so you run some sort of bench
Hmm.
practice and stuff like that. All of that costs money,
Definitely.
right?
Hmm.
And but why is it important to the client? Well, because you will get higher quality, you will
Right.
get continuity, because people won't be like leaving and like new people coming
Mm-hmm.
in, and like now they have to understand your code base, your project, etc. Right? You get continuity. You get the same people who know your project, they know your business, they work on your product for a long time, and if they ever were to leave, guess what? There's ongoing knowledge share happening between other team members, so somebody else will be able to very seamlessly enter your project, right?
Right.
Like, and all of that comes with a premium, and it should be.
Definitely. Of course.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think you made a good point. You were talking that you do a lot of the development too, and that's a big part of that relationship, right?
Yep.
Let's say you had an employee leave, you're still the head of that relationship with that client. So you being
Absolutely.
there still, like the CEO is not going to leave anytime soon, to my knowledge.
Exactly.
So if you're around and you're still involved in that relationship, that's like a huge differentiator still from another company where they might hand you off to a rep or an account manager, and then they hand you off to the engineers, and then it
Yeah.
just gets muddy, right?
Yep.
So.
Yeah. I mean, we have project managers. We do not have account managers. I
Hmm.
think it's a made up role that is unnecessary in the agency world. Like really, I
Hmm.
think if you have efficient, good project managers, they de facto become your account manager per se.
Hmm.
And then you have this next level of authority. Look, I mean, our projects tend to be in six digits and about, like, like
Hmm. Of
we
course.
don't, we're not in business of building $5,000 websites. Not that it's a
Hmm.
bad business, but like it's a different business,
Hmm.
right?
100%.
So having that peace of mind that you have direct access to the CEO of the company,
Hmm.
who will not only give her phone number, but also like call you and respond to you and like know about what's happening, I think that is very important, and I think it's warranted. Like we're talking
Definitely.
about, like significant budgets, significant engagements, and yes, I think the client has the right to know who they trust.
Definitely. And that makes a lot of sense. And kind of going to my last couple of questions, looking ahead, what are your goals for the next 12 months? Are there anything that we should be aware of on the horizon?
Well, a couple of things. So we will continue to grow, but very smartly. Like we had in the past an experience when we grew to 87 people, and it was not a good experience. It was too fast, not well thought out. We've learned a lot from those mistakes, and so we are on a growth trajectory right now. We've actually we've opened up a whole new talent I guess, location. We've expanded into Latin America, so we now have about six people, I want to say, in Brazil. So we will probably continue to grow that side of our business. We are looking to continue to participate in industry conferences.
Hmm.
So that those are like the main goals. Like, continue to grow, continue to remain profitable. If we can grow by about 30% in terms of revenues this year, it will be a good year. I mean, this is a volatile market still.
Of
So,
course.
if we can still if we can continue delivering value to our clients and steadily inch towards growth,
Hmm.
that is a big success. On the other side is we've developed a product within JetRockets some time ago called OneTribe, which was, or still is, it's a leave management platform, time off
Okay.
management platform
Hmm.
for companies like us. So we built our own tool because we tried a bunch of different tools. None of them worked for us. We decided to build our own, which we have. We've been using it for the past 3 years, just internally.
Okay.
And recently, this past month, we finally took it to, we decided to productize it, and we have partnered with a company, and we will be announcing a big launch soon of this new product. Yeah, so
That's
that's
awesome. And what's the date kind of looking like for our viewers if they might be interested?
probably within the next month. And the
Okay.
product is called OneTribe.team. You
Okay.
can check it out.
Perfect. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. If you guys are interested, feel free to go check it out. And going into my last question, it's a fun one, but a tough one. If you had a magic wand and could solve just one problem within your business, what would that be?
Oh, a problem within my business. Oh God. Okay. Just one.
If you have a couple, you could go, but I guess the priority one that's like really bothers you every day, I guess.
Yeah, I think the biggest I think finding the proper way of mentoring and growing people.
Hmm.
to where they want to be is a big issue, because what happens is we have a very strong mentorship program within JetRockets. We hire junior people and then we mentor them to, to
Hmm.
grow into junior and senior leaders and above. But it's all very dependent upon like few key players within my company that
Hmm.
is very difficult to scale because they're also full-time engineers, right? So like it's hard for
Hmm.
you to be a full-time engineer and also a full-time mentor. So
Of
if
course.
I could like have the wand and be like, scale these 3 people for me and, create a scalable mentorship program that I could, instead of, maybe onboarding 3 to 4 people top at one time, I could onboard 10.
Right,
That
right.
would be amazing. Yeah. Because we
100%.
have a lot to teach. Like we've learned a lot throughout the years and we can teach, we create really strong developers. Um, but it's just difficult to scale the program. Yeah.
Definitely. And that makes a lot of sense. And if people want to connect with you, Natalie, or learn more about what JetRockets is doing, where could they go and how could they connect?
Yeah, so they can find me on LinkedIn under Natalie Kaminski. They can also find us online at JetRockets.com. And I'm always happy to answer an email, and it's Natalie@JetRockets.com.
Perfect. I will leave the links in the description to Natalie's website and her LinkedIn. But I highly recommend you check out JetRockets and the incredible things that they're doing in this space. But other than that, thank you again, Natalie, for coming on and sharing your time and your insights today. And we'll see you guys on the next podcast.